So here's John Ender coming out and erasing my slogan once again. And the slogan did say Montreal Unitarians cover up and deny clergy sexual abuse, which is quite true. All of these previous slogans that John has erased were about Unitarian Universalist clergy sexual abuse, and Unitarian Universalist Association and Unitarian Universalist Church cover up and denial thereof. And in erasing those slogans, John Ender, who is the president of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, is guilty of participation in, I dare say, engagement in Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of clergy sexual misconduct. John seems to believe that because I'm protesting in these slogans against the cover-up and denial and attempted cover-up and denial of clergy sexual abuse by the Unitarian Universalist of Association and other Unitarian Universalist churches, that I am somehow slandering the Unitarian Church of Montreal. But no. And when he comes out and erases these entirely legitimate protest slogans, well, he's a participant in the overall Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of clergy sexual misconduct. To say nothing of non-sexual forms of clergy misconduct, but today's protest and other previous protests have concentrated on the comparatively recent shameful Unitarian Universalist history, which is the fact that the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations in Boston hired Stikeman Elliott barristers and solicitors, litigation lawyer, Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe, to, amongst other false or highly misleading accusations, accuse me of the crime of blasphemous libel for allegedly, and I do say allegedly, making unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. That's an exact quote from the arrogant and aggressive cease and desist demand letter that Stikeman Elliott had me served with in June of 2012. And it essentially accuses me of making unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that the ministers of the Unitarian Universalist Association engage in what Maitre Coulombe called such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. And according to Maitre Coulombe, my allegedly unfounded and vicious allegations are defamatory, and they are so defamatory that they amount to the criminal act of blasphemous libel against the Unitarian Universalist Church. Unfortunately, the key word in all of that legalistic bluster is unfounded. Unfortunately for Maitre Coulombe, the allegations that I have made about Unitarian Universalist ministers engaging in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape are by no means unfounded. In fact, pretty much everything I said regarding Reverend Mac Mitchell's rape of vulnerable teenage Tibetan refugees can be read in American newspapers. Now, you might have to go to the library to read those newspapers. Not all of it's available on the internet. Oh, well, look who's here. Johann B. Slanderous and libelous. Johann be full of shit. Johann be a big fat UU liar. Johann be a cowardly anonymous UU who tries to discredit my entirely truthful protest against Unitarian Universalist clergy misconduct. Johann be a contributor to the Robin Edgar Sucks blog. Johann, also known as Mr. Pike, a cowardly Unitarian Universalist troll who posts all kinds of libelous bullshit about me to the internet. He doesn't have the courage to sign his name to his slanderous and libelous bullshit that he writes about me and posts to the internet. Thank you very much, David Pike, also known as Johann B. Good, who is anything but good in terms of what he has posted about me to the internet. The guy is a liar, a fraud, and I'm glad to see that he heard what I had to say today. I think we're going to be wrapping this up soon. I got about 16 minutes left of video on this reel, as it were. We'll just watch David Pike, former president of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, drive away. But this man turns out to be the guy who called himself Anonymous UU and posted to the internet what he claimed were official Unitarian... Pardon me? I'm sorry, I'm documenting everything that happens here. So, anyhow, David Pike, who was previously involved in trying to silence me about Reverend Ray Drennan's non-sexual clergy misconduct, in an attempt to discredit me, posted to the internet a screed which claimed to be the Unitarian Church's official denial of my claims against Reverend Ray Drennan, etc. And that official denial, which may well be the Church's official denial, since David Pike is certainly, or was, a leading member of the Church. As I said, at one point he was president, at another point he was vice president. So, you know, top level leader of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. And he's basically saying things that can be proven to be untrue in a document that he posts to the internet anonymously. He doesn't have the courage to sign his name to his words. You know, my name is on everything I write. You know, I do use the pseudonym, the Emerson Avenger. It was never intended as a pseudonym. The Emerson Avenger was a blog title only, but then a Unitarian by the name of Cranky Cindy decided that the Emerson Avenger was the name of a transcendentalist superhero. You know, she wrote a blog post referring to the Emerson Avenger as a transcendentalist superhero, and I thought, oh, we can have some fun with that, can't we? So I have been using the Emerson Avenger as a pseudonym, but if you go to the Emerson Avenger blog, and if you read the blog posts, or if you check my blog profile, it's got my name right there. You know, so I'm not hiding behind cowardly internet anonymity when I write about Unitarians. But for some reason, David Pike hides behind the cover of anonymity when he writes about me. And that might be because he wrote material that is of a slanderous and libelous nature. And I think on that note, we're going to wrap up this clip. And I think we're pretty well done. I've got 13 minutes of recording left, and we've had a pretty darn good day. We've got the modern art here on the sidewalk, thanks to John Inder coming out and erasing my slogans. We've got some good documentary video of John Inder erasing my slogans, and in doing so, essentially trying to cover up and hide Unitarian Universalist cover up and denial of clergy sexual misconduct. It's kind of ironic. I mean, I'm protesting specifically against cover-up and denial, or attempted cover-up and denial, of Unitarian Universalist clergy sexual misconduct, by the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, to say nothing of individual Unitarian Universalist churches. And John Inder comes out of the church, you know, after trying to get the police to get rid of me, unsuccessfully. He comes out of the church and erases the slogans against cover-up and denial. So all he's doing really is just reinforcing my point. He's just proving my point, you know, that Unitarian Universalists, instead of dealing responsibly with these issues, just do their very, very best to hide them from public view. There's no better example of that than what we're looking at right now. You can no longer read, well, you can get a hint of abuse there. Yeah, you can just sort of see it says abuse. And I suppose, you know, people seeing it in front of the church will make the connection. You know, Montreal is pretty well obliterated. Unitarian is pretty well obliterated. Cover up and deny, pretty well obliterated. Clergy abuse, etc., obliterated. Can't read it. Let's come down here and see how well he managed to cover up this slogan, which said, American Unitarians misuse Canadian blasphemy law to, I think, cover up and deny, or in cover up and denial, that could be it, of pedophilia and rape, if I remember correctly. Yep. So you can't make that out at all. So it totally obliterated my chalk slogan that informed the public that American Unitarians, specifically the leaders of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations in Boston, hired Stikeman Elliott barristers and solicitors litigation lawyer Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe to falsely accuse me of the crime of blasphemous libel in an effort to intimidate me into removing blog posts about Unitarian Universalists who were in fact guilty of engaging in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. These were people who were charged, tried, convicted, went to jail. This is hardly unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, as Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe so falsely claimed in his arrogant and aggressive cease and desist demand letter, which went on to falsely accuse me of the archaic crime of blasphemous libel for allegedly making these unfounded and vicious allegations, blah, 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 blah. Nope. You know, there's really no better, you know, cover-up of cover-up of cover-up. It just goes on and on and on. And this is the absolute antithesis of what Unitarian Universalists claim in their 7 principles. The first principle, by the way, is, which I don't speak about too much, because it's a bit more general. The first principle speaks about affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now, I suppose that would include Unitarian Universalists, pedophiles, and rapists. But it should also include those people who whistle blow, expose, protest against such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist clergy. But I don't think John Inder or the UUA or anyone else who tries to cover up and hide what I'm saying is showing a great deal of respect for my own inherent worth and dignity. They're trying to pretend that I'm a liar when I'm not. It's basically, they're slandering me. But on top of that, you know, in trying to cover up and hide clergy sexual abuse of children, including such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, they're certainly not respecting the inherent worth and dignity of the victims of Unitarian Universalist pedophiles and rapists. You know, they're trying to hide the truth about the abuse that these people have suffered. This is not, in my view, an activity that honors and upholds the first principle of Unitarian Universalism. The second principle of Unitarian Universalism, by the way, that's David Rollert down the end there with the bike, husband of the minister of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, Reverend Diane Roller, and he has certainly been involved in attempted cover-up and denial of what's going on out here. He has been involved in all kinds of police interventions and so on. Anyway, getting back to the 7 principles. Second principle calls for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. And in trying to cover up and hide the fact that certain Unitarian Universalist ministers are certainly guilty of engaging in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, well, I would say that the Unitarian Universalists who do that are guilty of violating the second principle. They're trying to prevent justice, trying to pervert justice. It is certainly perversion of justice to misuse Canada's blasphemy law in an effort to intimidate me into removing blog posts, or legally compel me to remove blog posts, or even put me in jail for blogging about Unitarian Universalist pedophiles and rapists. That's a perversion of justice in every sense of the word. Third principle, we can skip that one for now. Fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. So the fourth principle of Unitarian Universalism calls for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. So how are people supposed to engage in a free and responsible search for the truth and meaning of what I wrote on the sidewalk when John Inder came out and erased it? I mean, even if it's false, which is not the case, you know, I am very, very careful about telling the truth and being as accurate as possible. You know, with slogans, you know, you're sometimes a little on the general side. You can't go into all the specifics because it'd be a letter, it'd be a paragraph instead of a slogan. You know, you have to keep slogans reasonably short. But within that context, I try to be very, very truthful and accurate as much as possible. So in covering up and hiding these slogans, here comes John now, the culprit. John Inder is guilty of egregiously violating the second and fourth principles. Yes, you will see me next week, John, almost certainly. And you'll be mentioned on the Emerson Avenger blog, I expect, the next day or two, along with the videos. Enjoy your fame on YouTube. So that's John, who is responsible. And I'm glad I stuck around to catch him leaving and have a little word with him. John Inder is responsible for all of this obliteration, erasure, cover-up, wash. You know, we talk about whitewashing. We talk about washing away sins and so on. We go get back to whitewashing, cover-up and denial. You know, what could be more of a kind of a whitewash than this? You know, he comes out with water and erases what I wrote. Very, very truthful slogans. I mean, actually, the most recent slogan that I wrote could potentially be misinterpreted as though I'm talking about clergy sexual abuse that occurred right here at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, which is not quite the case. But as I said, you know, with slogans, it's difficult to tell the whole story. But it's accurate. It's truthful. And certainly the first two slogans that he erased were 100% accurate. You know, it says right there, American Unitarians. Clearly speaking about Unitarians from the United States. Obviously not the members of the church locally, misusing Canadian blasphemy law to cover up and deny or conceal pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist clergy, which I did not add to the slogan. 100% accurate, totally truthful. The UUA is in fact accusing me, falsely accusing me, therefore misusing Canada's blasphemy law. They're accusing me of blasphemous libel. It's a crime. Thus, they are misusing the law, perversion of justice. Covering this up it's the exact opposite of the fourth principle. It makes it impossible for people to engage. You know, even if I was, as I said, you know, as I tried to say earlier, and I sort of lost track of the point, even if what I was saying was false, which is not the case, by obliterating what I said, by engaging in censorship, you're making it impossible for people to determine the truth, because they can't even read what I wrote. You know, let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that what I wrote was not true. Well, people could read what I wrote, they could do some research on the internet and so on, and they could determine for themselves that it was untrue. Just as I have determined time and time again that things that Unitarian Universalists say are untrue. When I say Unitarian Universalists are lying about something, or otherwise hiding the truth or distorting the truth, I present evidence supporting my case. Where is John Inder's evidence supporting his counter-argument? Why doesn't he come out here and write a counter, instead of erasing what I wrote? Why don't Montreal Unitarians present their counter-arguments? No, they don't want to do that, because in presenting counter-arguments, well, then I can pick apart their counter-arguments. No, they just want to hide what's going on here. And since we're heading under the final minute of recording available on this card, I think we're done for today. But I think I've more than amply made my point about the cover-up, and well, maybe you should do something about censorship, my friend.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, you might want to do a little Gazette column about the word censorship. Whitewashing would be good too. That's Mark Abley, Gazette columnist. He has a column about words, and so I think it's kind of ironic. Oh, here comes Bob Wright with his latest protege. Yeah, Bob, is it Wright or White? I think it's Wright, but yeah, pretty sure it's Bob Wright. Anyway, yeah, another Montreal Unitarian, blah, blah, blah.